Hey, everybody. It's Drew Scooter here. Happy Sunday. Happy Mother's Day. I think this stream's supposed to start at 10:15, but most people are going to watch it recorded anyway. So, um, but yeah, I guess I'll start the official chatting at 10:15. We got about 2 minutes. Um, I'll show you my prep stuff. It'll be a teaser. So if you're watching this recorded, it's like a double teaser. So this is one thing. This is my notes here. This is also how I track my time to do's during the day. Sunday's a really big work day for the podcast. Well, every day is a big work day, but Sunday I have something today. But a lot of times I'll work from work. Sunday's a big work day for the podcast. See, I got my coffee. Probably don't need too much more. Trying to spread these around on Sundays, but it's not at the scalable point where I could schedule these just because there's so much other work to do. I'm trying to find the best spot for this light. So for now, since they're recorded, it's just a live. I mean, it's a live stream too, but yeah, and I'm trying to spread them out during the day for different time zones, but it's just when I can squeeze this in on Sundays. So let's see, we got about 5 more minutes or 1 more minute. So we'll cover some things. We're going to cover what's coming up today, new website, and really focus a lot of the time I can answer any questions, but again, about the RSS. So once it hits 10:15, I'll start my official spiel. Not much more official than this, though. I see 3 people are watching. If you want to do the chat, it's easiest to click through to YouTube. Last week I couldn't really like the posts for the comments on Patreon are a little bit tougher to follow because I either have to look on my phone or change tabs, and they weren't updating probably because this was using so much bandwidth. So it's easier if you click through to YouTube to chat or ask any questions. That way I know I get them. Okay, it's 10:15. I'm not like I'm going to edit this, but just in case anybody saw it and wanted to. Okay, so hey, it's Happy Mother's Day is my first thing. Mom, if you're watching, Happy Mother's Day. Called you. I'm guessing you'll probably call me in the middle of this, but have a great Mother's Day, and to all the other mothers out there, mother figures, thank you so much. So that's one. Happy Mother's Day. I don't know if different places in the world celebrate Mother's Day in different ways. Most sensible places would probably celebrate it most days. But okay, so Happy Mother's Day. I don't know how many of you noticed as patrons, we have a new website. Or our website is new. The website's the same address, but we have a new website. Listeners company. I got to work with a listeners company, amazing listener, Eric and his company, Astound. If you're looking for someone to do your website, it's at all their info is at the bottom of our page. You can link through to them. But they did an amazing job. I think with patrons, a lot of the times the question is, who sponsors the show? You could just go to sleepwithmepodcast.com or sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors, and you can see all the sponsors there. Very prominently displayed. So that's a real nice feature. Ideally, in reality, for a podcast, and I know everyone consumes the podcast differently, but the majority of people consume a podcast on a podcast app, which we'll talk about next. So the real purpose of the website is to give new listeners a chance to sample and then ideally subscribe to the podcast if they think it's for them. I know there are some listeners that do their consumption primarily on the website. I just feel like the user podcast for a user experience is designed best to be consumed in a podcast app. But if people choose to do that, that's fine. And we have a nice new player from Radio Public there, or we've been using it, but it just displayed a lot nicer because I'm not designing the website. And that's been just a huge relief because I don't have either the bandwidth or the time or the experience to do that. So Eric and his team really did an amazing job. But yeah, the two things for the podcast website is one, I have to figure out a way for the public side, so anybody that's not a patron that's watching this, to get more sponsor support. So hopefully that will help people be able to find and support the sponsors we have, or the sponsors that are doing tests, which I kind of talked about last week, like running one or two ads and seeing if people really support them or not. Because podcast advertising is kind of direct response. So they run ads on shows where the people purchase their products. Hopefully that'll help, because that's really what is going to support the whole free side of the podcast, versus a Patreon. You're already really supporting a large portion of the labor that goes in the show. So, so yeah, you know what I mean as patrons. So that's the new website. It's awesome. sleepwithmepodcast.com. Make sure to check it out. If you have any comments or still or anything that's missing, or questions, there are some design choices and stuff we made, but feel free to let me know. Thanks, Diane. Diane's in the chat and checked out the website. How you doing? So that's Mother's Day. Check out the new website. If you ever wonder what the sponsors are, it's sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors. If you're watching this and you support the sponsors, it also helps if you share, that's something they love. It helps other listeners know, oh yeah, this is a really cool product. Like HelloFresh gets a lot of love and they're still testing. So it's just cool to, one second. So it's just cool when people share their experience. Okay. So if you're watching this video and you stick around to the end, you're going to see something very fun. Good morning, Crazy Pants. Because today's Ko's birthday, or it's not her actual birthday, but it's the day we adopted her. So she will be getting a treat at the end of this video. And I may even let her on the couch, which she's not allowed to do, to get her treat, because that's the only way I can get her on video. So she's here. And if you stick around for the whole video, you'll get to see Koa get a treat. But here's the main thing I've been talking about in these Patreon videos. If you're a patron and you haven't set up your bonus content through your RSS, especially at any level, you're really missing out on great content and extra value. I've kind of been saying this in all these videos and trying to communicate this the best I can. Is like the bonus content is the only way I can thank patrons, other than by trying to make time like this, because I put so much work into the show, my heart, my soul, and a lot of hours every week. It's really hard. It's just a great way to give extra value to patrons. At $1, if you're at the tip level, $1 a month, you're getting a piece of content most weeks, a story-only episode. At $5 a month, you're getting 2 ad-free episodes every week and 2 story-only episodes every week, and then sometimes some deluxe episodes like this past weekend. And then at $10 and $20 a month, I'm trying to add more and more value, because that's kind of like our membership level. Like $5 is kind of like similar to other monthly subscriptions, and $10, I don't know, value for value is a broad term, but it's kind of like a membership level. So at $10 and $20, you're getting ad-free episodes, 3 story-only episodes every week, all intro episodes, or some weeks you're getting all intro episodes. Once a month, you'll get 1 or 2 all-night episodes that are squeezed together. Right now we're doing From the Vault releases. So here's this week's release. And the great thing is, if you set up your bonus content, which I should walk you through next in a couple places, you can listen to all that in your podcast app. But let me give you the preview of this week. What we have coming up tonight is Caretaker's Carousel, which is the finale of that's the art. Oh, hey, Sep Evans. that's the art. So this is the final episode of the theme park series. I mean, we'll do a recap after this. So that'll be cool. That's tonight at $5 and up. Patrons get that. Then Monday night is Sleep to Strange story only episode. 648 long game. So it's a Doctor Who story only episode. That's at $1 and up. Everybody gets that. Tuesday night is $5 and up. Gets Sleep to Strange, like story only episode 406, which is Battle of the Pool Table from Game of Thrones. Then $5 and up, ad free episode 670, The Good Place episodes 1 and 2. So we're already launching our next TV series, which is The Good Place, and that comes. I can't believe it's already out. Kind of stresses me out. C Steel, I'll get to that next, and actually I'll answer your question really good. Okay, so $5 and up, we'll get 670 The Good Place episodes 1 and 2. Then what is that? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. $10 and up patrons get Sleep to Strange episode 1 to 405, which is Get Bezos season 2 episode 22. What's Love Got to Do with It? And then Friday night, $10 and up patrons get From the Vault release 285 Bugs of Smooth Night, which is like an on location episode. And that's all I have scheduled right now. I'm going to work some more today. Trying to get, like, it'd be nice to be a little bit more ahead on the patron releases from the back end. So that's all the patron releases. But yeah, so in the link, okay, so let me see how I run through this. I'm going to talk about podcast apps, and then I'm going to show you, like, in addition to Patreon's really well-written ways to set up your patron RSS, of how to set up your patron RSS, or just another way. But it's way easier. The link is in the patron post for this video of following patrons or going to Patreon support.patreon.com. Send us a note if you're really stuck or you're really averse, like you've tried it and you've gotten stuck. But podcast apps, I talked about this last week. I'll talk about it. I'll probably keep talking about it. I know not everyone consumes the podcast or the Patreon content in a podcast app, and you don't have to consume the podcast or the Patreon content in a podcast app. You can consume it. Actually, I haven't even tried to consume any Patreon content in a browser, but you can. I have tried in Patreon's app, and I have heard from patrons that say, "Oh, I consume it by email," which I assume means you click on the email and then it plays in your browser. Podcasts, I don't want to talk about the history of podcasts, but podcasts from a user listener experience are always, like, when we design them and when we're making them, I guess it's with the assumption that the majority of consumers are going to be listening in a podcast app, because that's just the way it is. And for Sleep With Me and almost all podcasts, the majority of people that listen on podcast app use Apple Podcasts. So I'm not anti-Android or anti-consuming podcasts from any other places, but whether you use Android or not, the most easiest way to consume a podcast is in a podcast app, or the Patreon content would be a podcast app, then the Patreon app, which is pretty cool. I do use a Patreon app for people I follow, and then a browser-based experience, just because it's just, I guess it would be like the difference between watching a movie in a movie theater versus like watching a movie through a store window, kind of like not just at home on a TV. It's like just I don't know. So if you don't use a podcast app, we're going to talk about that real quick. And then I'm going to talk about how to set up your Patreon content. But again, the article of how to do it is in this post, and you can always contact Patreon support. So C Steele, which I think is Sherry maybe, asks, if you use an iPhone, it comes with Apple Podcasts installed there, which You might be able to see. It's a little purple thing, and it comes installed on all iPhones, even if your phone is not up to date. But if it is, and you can listen to podcasts on there, you can also listen to your Patreon content on there. And yeah, Marianne says it's easier if you listen to more than one podcast or you're listening to bonus content and regular podcasts. Apple Podcast app works great. And I'm going to show you how to set up the content in there. But it also, the bonus content, if you're more of a power user, I would say, you might use Overcasts or Pocket Casts. And if you're an Android user, we'll go through that next. So I'm going to talk about how I support a lot of people on Patreon and how I get the Patreon bonus content, which, okay. So the bonus content, usually when you sign up on Patreon, it gets emailed to you as you become a patron. And that kind of RSS changes. If you change levels, it should automatically, your RSS number won't stay the same. Or will stay the same, but the content will change with you automatically. So the easiest way, if you say, what's my RSS? Yeah, I'll show Marianne D. That's how the next thing I'm going to go through is Podcast Addict. So the easiest way to find your RSS, and RSS just means it's the roadmap to where the bonus content is for the podcast app. It just tells the podcast app, it's basically a secret code for your podcast app to get the bonus content. So the easiest way to get your RSS, you say, Scoots, I don't know what the RSS is. I don't know where to find it. The easiest way to find it is just to go into your email that you signed up with Patreon and go to your search, like at Gmail. I mean, that's the only way I use to find email anyway. But Yahoo or Hotmail or any mail app, you just search for, all you have to do is search Patreon RSS, or Sleep With Me. I don't know if Sleep With Me RSS will work, but you could try it. And the email from Patreon will come up unless you deleted it. But most mail apps don't delete stuff anymore, just archive it. So the easiest way is to do that. And it'll come up on your phone, or it'll come up on your browser. But for this example, we're using your phone, and then you just do a long press and say copy. It'll say this is your RSS, and just copy it, and that'll get you your RSS. A secondary way, which is also really easy, is this is like a super is like on a browser, on your mobile browser, like Chrome. Let's see on this one. Is just to log into Patreon. And if you can't log into Patreon, go to support.patreon.com. So here's Within the Wires, right? I don't know how well this is going to come up. Yeah. So this is one of the people I support on Patreon. And you make sure you click on the overview tab. A lot of times another tab will be open. Just click on the overview tab. And make sure you have to be logged in, though, which is so log in. My internet's slow because I'm streaming live video, and you won't see this side. But then you just is it overview page? Yeah, and then the third thing down. Oh, it's showing how much I support. But the third thing down, it says audio RSS link, and it has a thing here. You just click copy link. See that? Copied. So once you do that, and you can use that on any browser. Let me see. I took some pictures for Apple Podcasts here. So you'll open Apple Podcasts, or we'll do Podcast Addict next for Android users. And it's even simpler in Pocket Casts and Overcast. You just click a plus button and add the RSS. So it's basically the same in every app. Okay, where's my photos? If anybody has any questions, though, you're better off go to support.patreon.com just because they know. Okay, so there's the picture I took of pie. Oh, whoops! I don't think I took. Okay, let me actually open my podcast app. Don't worry, if you stick around, you're going to see my dog eat broccoli. But this is really the thing. The reason I'm harping on this and stressing this is from the patron perspective. You're getting way more content, and only 1 out of 4 patrons right now have their RSS set up, and it's basically like free content. It takes longer to explain, but it takes about 2 minutes to get this set up. And the people that have the RSS are the people that have been patrons and stayed patrons and are happy and engaged patrons. And that's really what the goal of sustaining the show is like happy, engaged patrons at whatever level. Okay, so this is Apple Podcasts, right? And you're going to want to click on this library button here, okay, on the bottom. Then what you're going to do is click on this edit button here. So library and then edit in your Apple Podcasts. And then you're going to see something like this. Library. And the bottom one is add podcast by URL. And then all you do is you click that. Add podcast by URL. Long press and paste will come up. And then you just paste it in there. And then you click subscribe. And then boom, you're subscribed to the patron feed, and your life is going to be awesome. So now I'm going to do it on Podcast Addict with the Within the Wires feed. Okay, so and this is just a bigger version of what it would look like on your phone. Come on. Okay, there we go. So watch, I'm going to click this copy link. So it's copied. All right, now I'm going to open Podcast Addict. This is an Android. This is a great tablet, by the way. I think these are $49 on Amazon. You do have to do some extra work to get Podcast Addict on here, I think. Maybe not. Okay, so I'm opening Podcast Addict. And if you're in the podcast tab here, you're going to see any other app, just look for a plus button. So you're going to see a plus button. It's hard for me to do this. Okay, so you press the plus button. Oh, boy, Scoots. Press the wrong thing. Okay, so press the plus button. And when the plus button comes up, it brings up their store and everything. But you'll also see here where you could search. Okay, one more time here. Click the plus button, and you'll see all this stuff here. Now this symbol, you see that radio-looking symbol? That's a RSS symbol next to the search. So I guess that's the only tricky thing in Podcast Addict. You just click that, and then new podcast comes up, and it are automatically pasted, but you could copy and paste. Now, if you're using Podcast Addict, make sure you click private feed, because this is your private feed, and we don't want it getting public. So click private feed and watch add, then just click add, and one podcast added. And let me see, I'll show you. I clicked on radio stations. So, and then look, Within the Wires Patreon feed. So then you click on that, and there's all my Within the Wires bonus content right in here. Podcast Addict, can download it. I can listen to it. I could listen to Janina talk about voice acting. That's the most recent episode. And that's it. And then depending on your settings, you can set sleep timers. It's the same as consuming it in the regular thing. So there are a couple apps that the Patreon feed doesn't work for, and those are because they're a little bit more like Spotify and Google Play. You can't use the Patreon feed in. So if you use Spotify or Google Play to listen to the regular podcast in, you're on Android, think about Podcast Addict. It's one of the more popular apps. If you're on Apple, you can use your built-in app. On Android or Apple, you could use Pocket Casts, or I don't know if Overcast for Android came out yet, or Overcasts. And if you're listening, you're like, I don't know what a podcast app is, and you have an Apple device, just try out like one podcast in the podcast app and see what you think, or try out just the Patreon bonus content, because it really will make your experience. And if you consume more than one podcast, or you like to set a sleep timer, make a playlist, like make a playlist that starts with a regular episode. Like you could be making playlists of regular episodes and Patreon episodes even. So I just highly recommend that. And I do know it's a difference, like when people leave as patrons, and the people that I hear from that are dissatisfied, the majority of the time, if they left, because the reasons people leave Patreon is 1, life changes, 2, they stop listening to podcasts, or 3, they're dissatisfied. And I mean, it's like the whole real reason the Patreon is value for value, but having extra value via this bonus content kind of helps. And most like if you set up the RSS feed, you're going to have it's just nice. It's just a great extra feature. And especially because, I only have so much time to make Sleep With Me, and I have to make it with all the listeners kind of in mind, and new listeners. So that's why the show's structured with an intro and the story, and why they're about an hour is just, that's what's worked over time. But also there's pockets of listeners that only like intros, or only like stories, or that listen all night long. And especially at the membership level, I'm able to meet those needs. I mean, one, because like I can see the road to that labor getting paid for, or me paying someone to help me with that down the road. But that Patreon allows for that via these RSS feeds to say, oh, well, if you only want to listen to all intro episodes, you get all intro episodes. If you listen all night, I can make these all night episodes that are just 4 hours long, and there's 2 in a row. Or if you only like stories, there's story only episodes. So it's just a way for me to customize the experience that I can't do for the broader audience. And also it wouldn't be financially feasible to release all these like publicly. So that's a little bit about the RSS. How about I feed Co or broccoli, and then I'll stick around if anybody has any questions. Okay, is everybody? Happy birthday to you. Come here, Co. You can get on the couch. Come here. You can get on. Come here. It's okay. Instinctually, she knows she's not allowed. So let's see something. If we could try. Happy birthday to you. Come here, right here. Happy birthday, dear Koa. Happy birthday. My running shorts are on. Do you, and many more. Koa, are you 1? Are you 2? Are you 3? Oh, these. My clothes are out for people to view. Happy birthday to you. Look at how gentle Ko is. This is another fun one. So I don't actually know when Ko was born. I just know we got her on Mother's Day. Okay, so this is a fun game. It's kind of gross, but like it's a hand Kong. I think Ko is about 8, right, Ko? But can you get all that broccoli gunk off of me? Happy birthday to you. Do you want me to put this on your bed? Do you want me to put that on your bed? Okay, go to your bed. Go get in your bed. Go get in bed. Okay. All right. Oh. Lower extremity shot there. Okay, so that's Co's birthday. Real quick, if anybody has any questions, let me just shoot over the Patreon page and see if anybody had any questions in the comments. No, I don't think. And let me check Facebook here. But if you have any questions, shoot them at me, or questions about podcast apps kind of came up. I can talk about that if any questions come up. So I consume. This is actually Sophia's tablet, but let's see. Like you can sideload Android onto here. So I have like almost every Android podcast app on here to check the podcast, especially around the holidays when we've changed feeds. It allows me to change feeds. I mean, it allows me to check almost everything. And then on my phone, I actually listen to podcasts in Pocket Casts and Overcast. I just found a couple podcasts that I listen to. The feeds work better in Overcast. But yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So let's see what questions came up. Oh, Saskalula, Diane asked, and then Marianne D asked about trending Twitter Tuesdays. Saskalula, I have no idea what it means. It's like I think it's just a made up word. I think it is a word. And I don't know why I started. The only thing I could track it back to is that Stan from Nuns in Space was influenced by this character, Bob, who liked sarsaparilla. He was like a co-host on the Sleeper Summer show, which was a failed Sleep With Me daytime show. And I don't know, like it's just something fun. It's like the inside code word for patrons, I guess. Just a fun, silly word. It means whatever you want. It means patrons are great. Thanks for believing in value for value. Couldn't do it without you. But yeah, I think it probably means a word somewhere. I mean, also Saskatoon's a nice sounding word. It does sound nice. Sarsaparilla, Saskatoon. So that's Saskalula. Marianne D, trending Twitter Tuesdays. We still do them. The trending style shows. It just, they don't come out on Tuesdays. I still kind of call them trending Twitter Tuesdays. Let me get my schedule and look at what's coming up here. So this is one of the big boards. Let's see what we have coming up. Skywriter came out for everybody, right? We see. That's not a trending Twitter Tuesday. I know I recorded one this week that was based on. Oh no, that was like trending style shows that are every third episode about. I haven't used Twitter in a while because I just like at some point like 2 years ago, the Twitter like I couldn't even when I tried using the trends, what was trending in other countries, it was it just wasn't palpable for bedtime. Even like 80% of the trends would have to be changed. And the more I'm thinking on a trending Twitter Tuesday episode, like in using that logical part of my brain, so I still check Twitter sometimes. I mean, I used fish sets for one recent one. The last one I did was based on like a transcript that I got from somewhere. Before that, let's see. I know I have one coming in. Like the thing is, I record so far ahead of time. Like, so I'm recording for like June, July right now. And no, let's see. We have an episode that's recorded and not edited. That's and I'm not sure if I used Twitter for that one. I don't know. It's so weird. Like where my like I'm usually listening I'll try to listen to the Patreon feed episodes for one last listen before because it's a week ahead before the episode comes out. But like otherwise, it's like I'm like a little bit further in the future than the listeners, or a lot further in the future, as far as like the work and the recording. Like I wish I was even further. Like my goal would be that today, like then Saturday and Sunday, I'd work on all the Patreon stuff for 2 weeks ahead instead of working on it for the week ahead. And that the same with the podcast, like that those episodes would be at least up a week ahead, but I'm still at the point, just so much work that like, and when I'm still like Sunday, I have to double check everything, but I think everything's ready to go. It's like where I am, it's like almost 11 a.m. and everything comes out 4 o'clock here. So usually Sunday, like this time of day, I'll be polishing or like making sure everything's ready for the Patreon for the week, ideally. And then the Sunday show for the public is ready to go. So yeah. And then today I'll record an intro at some point in the next few hours. My daughter's in The Little Mermaid at 3, so that'll be fun. She had a show last night, so it's the second performance. She's Prince Eric, so that'll be pretty cool. Yeah, I think. What other questions came up? Please set up your RSS. Who set up their RSS while there? Anybody that's in the chat? How many of you that are in the chat have your RSS set up? And how many of you? It's nothing to be embarrassed about if you don't. Like my brother, he just set it up, and he said, "Wow, it only took 2 minutes. I don't know why I was waiting to set it up. It seemed like it would be more of a hassle than it is." Because it really makes the difference. Like I don't know. Like there's a couple of podcasts I listen to, and just even getting the bonus content when I can't listen. Like I think Doughboys puts one out every single week. Yeah. But anybody want to? Because you could get it done right now, or you could. There's like a lot of people. Oh, thanks, Diane. Yeah. Took me a couple weeks to figure out that I needed to do it to get the content, but there wasn't anything difficult about it. Yeah, thanks, Patricia. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like everybody's coming. Sleep With Me is one of the more unique podcasts in the sense we have like a broader audience than like most people find their way into podcasting through podcast, like find more podcasts through podcasts, where we're a lot of people's first podcast. And so they're getting introduced to the system. And maybe they're coming from listening on YouTube or via the website, or via like people that consume their Patreon content via the email they get. So yeah, I mean, I think like the good thing about everybody that said this video is like your email's working because you got the notification. Like we definitely have like a large number of people that either gave the wrong email or became a patron and then kind of forgot about it. And that's kind of like important for me to connect with those people so that I guess some people are just like, well, I get value out of the main podcast. That's it. Like I'll support you at $10 a month. I don't need anything else. But getting all this extra content is pretty sweet. Any other questions or comments? I saw something come up on Facebook, so let me just click over there. But let me know in the chat. Oh, Brenda on Facebook said her daughter doesn't like broccoli, so she wouldn't have liked that picture. Cool. Marianne D has her RSS set up. I think that's it, Paula. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you everybody for coming to this chat then, if there's no more questions. And and Okoa's got a stomach full of broccoli. Hopefully, her system will process. She had breakfast a little while ago, so hopefully that'll create 2 layers in her stomach that can combine before it's digested, because so she doesn't get broccoli gas. Yeah, Patricia, I did run through it. I can run through it real quick. Oh, my mom's calling me back for Mother's Day, so I definitely got to run. But I'll run through this really quick because I can't answer the phone on. So Sherry got her RSS set up. That's awesome. So Patricia, let's see. Tonight's Caretaker's Carousel, this theme park finale, that's $5 and up patrons. Tomorrow night, $1 and up patrons get Sleep to Strange from story only episode from 6:48. The long game. Then $5 and up patrons on Tuesday get Sleep to Strange from 4:06. Battle of Bad Words. Hold on, I got to respond to this text. Let's see. Then Wednesday, $5 and up patrons, ad-free episode 670 is The Good Place. Then Thursday, $10 and up patrons get Sleep to Strange, episode 405. Get Besos, season 2, episode 22. What's Love Got to Do with It? And then Friday, $10 and up patrons get episode From the Vault 285, Bugs of Smooth Night. So that's it. Happy Mother's Day, and thank you for your support. Set those patron RSS up. Do not hesitate to contact support.patreon.com and send them a note. Literally, they're already paid as a part of the service, so it's like having someone on retainer, and they can help you. I don't have the ability to look up people's RSS code. Like I said, the easiest way to do it is just search in your email or log in and copy it. But they can help you. I mean, they have a help staff ready to help people, and especially with our podcast, it's good because then it's a value for value. My relationship with Patreon is similar to your relationship with me through Patreon. Like it's a value for value relationship too. So please contact them. Thank you so much for your support. I say this every week. The podcast would have stopped 2.5 years ago, or over that probably, without patrons willing to give value for value for the sleep the show provides you. And, there are people that just I don't think take it for granted, but just go with the assumption that, the podcast, it's fine or whatever, or they tune out when I'm asking for support. You shouldn't do that, because you're supporting the show. Like you can feel good about it, and that it supports all of those other people's well-being. That's not necessarily you're just by you doing a value for value thing, like indirectly you're helping all those people. So thank you so much for that. And on with the show. And let's see if I can end the stream.